refers to an English philosopher, Jeremy Bentham, once famously noted, where there is no publicity, there is no justice. Publicity is the very soul of justice. So we here at Roadkill are going to make available to you a lot of publicity, because I think this story should get out, and every parent should be aware of what goes on here. Every parent, we all walk around with this fear when our children are young, how we behave in public because we don't want somebody to report us. Is that indicative of where we have fallen in a society where parents can't be a parent anymore because somebody's going to pass judgment, and then you're going to have this agency, this Gestapo-like agency, come in and make these kinds of decisions? It seems to be a legitimate concern, and I think all good parents and all good people should stand up and say no more to this. We need to change the law so there's accountability to the ministry, because as long as they profess to be operating in the best interest of children, whatever that means, they're immune from liability.
If Canadians or Americans or anybody out there who's watching right now or listening thinks, well, we trust our civil servants. We trust these guys. They're experts. And, they're the guys who are professionals and they're supposed to know what they're doing. All I want you to do is to Google the name Charles Smith. He was the Canadian pathologist, the coroner in the province of Ontario, who found evidence of criminal misconduct in so many dozens and dozens of child abuse cases, and quite often these alleged child abuse cases were child injury cases where children had died of injuries of some sort, and he found all sorts of supposed evidence indicating that these children had been subjected to abuse and he reckoned on his testimony, his supposed expert testimony, many people were convicted and put in jail. In the last year or two, it's come out that he didn't know what he was talking about, that he had no expertise, that indeed many people were wrongly imprisoned. Charles Smith, Canadian pathologist Charles Smith. All of those, the sort of thing that we're hearing now, thankfully, is not as drastic as that. It's pretty darn drastic when you have your children snatched away the way you guys have had your children snatched away. But thank goodness that it wasn't as horrible of a nightmare as that could happen when people who don't know what they're doing pretend to have expertise they don't have, and then get involved in a system where it's cover your butt, and go along with what people seem to want to hear. As you said, shaken baby syndrome was the malaise of the day. And Carrie, when you and I first started reporting on this, it was Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Remember that?
Yeah, and I think there was about 200 cases there that got turned over in England as well. I forget who the expert was in that, but they had to reinvestigate a whole bunch of cases. Terry, we've got a call. Caller, you there?
Yes, I am, Carrie.
Yes, go ahead.
How are you guys tonight? Just sitting here listening to Bayne just brings back lots of memories for me.
It sounds like a Mel Mabbitt.
It is. It is.
Well, we just got your email.
I certainly feel for you folks. It's I've been 12 years fighting the ministry. I guess 15 years fighting the ministry. Carrie's very familiar with the case there, but they are a frustrating bunch. I'm sure you guys are finding that out. And it's not just the ministry; it's the courts that piggyback on with the ministry and vice versa. So
well, and Mel Mabbitt's case is kind of interesting because his kids are at an age now where they're suing the ministry. Yeah, and so actually your case is one of the cases that we have going to be involved in my challenge to the minister, Mel.
Well, if I were Paul and Zabeth right now listening to Mel and hearing the words 15 years, my stomach would be falling right now, and I'd be having an even sicker feeling in my stomach than I'm sure they have been having in their stomachs for the last several years themselves. But to think that now I don't know, Mel, Mabbitt, the specifics of your case at all, but if you are innocent and if this has been going on for all that time.
Well, no, the cases was very different. That was a marital dispute that the ministry got involved with there. So the children
Maybe
were
I do remember
there
this.
was a little bit of foster care because the mother was a chronic alcoholic. And rather than place the children with the father, they kept them with the mother. Here you've got this chronic alcoholic, but because she'll accept services, that's safe for the children. You know what? You know why? Because you know what her safety plan was, Terry O'Neill? That she'd hire a babysitter when she wanted to drink. So she'd go and drink in a bedroom, hire a 16-year-old babysitter to take care of the children. Yeah. And that was a good safety plan for the ministry to leave the children in the care of that individual.
I just thought of the worst words you could hear at the door is, we're from the ministry and we're here to help.
Well, as long as you say, oh, come on in, sure, I need help, you'll be okay.
So,
okay, can I just go back? I need to...
Is Mel still there?
Yeah, thanks, Mel.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, folks.
Okay,
good luck with your case there.
Thank you
very much. I want to go back to the children residing with your family home, and because that sounds like a good plan to me. That's okay. Here, the ministry's doing something sensible, but then they get their knickers in a knot because the media comes in, and you use the tools, the only tools available to you, and they spank you and say, well, the children are out of here because there's been a change in safety plan. Now, I understand that I, as a taxpayer, am now on the hook for an excess of $6,000 a month to pay a foster parent?
At least. It was $5,600 in court before Josiah.
Well, special needs children, the caregivers would get more money than that, and it probably work out to about $7,000 a month now with Josiah, and you're looking at about $84,000 a year.
Tax-free.
By the way, how is the health of Bethany? It was the baby who was originally... is she okay now? And
she's doing better. There is speech delay, and she needs therapy for that, and that's the biggest issue that I can see.
How often do you get to see your children?
No.
Well, we get them. Well, we now have an order in place, which I'm grateful for, that we can rely on. We see them for 7 hours at home on Saturdays, and then we see them on Wednesdays for 2 hours in the community. Two times a week
9
is
hours
just nothing for a family.
And how are they? Must be so confused.
They are.
And what? Tell me what's it like from their point of view.
They
what
get
do
told
they think?
from the ministry workers and from the foster parents that they're never coming home.
Really?
They're told bad things about us as well. One time in a visit, Bayne asked me, "Do you like my friends?" He asked me 3 times, and I said, "Yes, I do. I love your friends." And he said, the caregiver, I'm not going to say her name, but she said that you're dangerous around my friends.
And
Christmas we can't confront anything. We can't say to the driver, "What's this garbage my son's being told?" She goes, "I don't know." There's no one to talk to.
Yeah, wasn't it about 2 Christmases ago now? They came out to visit and told us that they were told that this was the last Christmas that you'd see your parents, and this was before the trial had completed. And that wasn't the case. We saw them the Christmas after, and
I think another actually something that's even worse was our lawyer brought out from the team leader in court that he had promised the caregivers that they could keep the children when they won this case, and this is even before they went to trial.
There is a presumption of winning the case.
All on one incident that was marginal at worst, and from your point, I mean,
it's actually more to do with money. It looks like.
Whose money?
Our money. Taxpayers' money.
They want the money.
They've paid. There's probably, we figure, over $1 million that has been spent on our case alone.
Well, it is an industry, and this industry requires children in its care. That's one of the things that we have said. And I should tell our audience, too, because I don't think I've spoken very much about this, but when we were challenged by Norm Jacobson, the minister back in the day of social credit, Stephen Owen was ombudsman of the day, and I know that Stephen had concerns about the practices within the ministry at that point in time, and I'm happy to report that the cases that were investigated and got expanded resulted in finding very much on my side, and the minister of that day was quite an honorable individual and actually moved to correct things within the Ministry of Children and Families as we now know it. Back then, it was a different ministry, but there was actually some leadership shown, the willingness to identify and act on the problem. And back then, part of the problem was the industry. This industry requires children. It's the most insidious formula for job creation that I have ever seen. It requires children. Look at all the people that are employed. We've got judges working here. We've got lawyers. We've got, so how many social workers have been involved? We've got different department heads. We've got court transcribers. We've got all of these people who are dependent on your children being in the system.
And certainly there are cases when children are being horribly abused and deserve protection. To be protection.
Exactly.
Listen, this is generating a lot of emails. Cecilia has just emailed us, and there's actually 2 emails after hers as well, asking, how old was the child who stumbled over Bethany? Was he or she old enough to give his or her story? How old was that child?
The child was just over 2 years old.
So couldn't really give.
No.
Okay.
But she asked an interesting question. How does he feel about that now?
We personally have never told him. We don't know what they've told him.
Oh, and we would not want to expose that to him and cause him feelings of guilt.
We've got just a minute here. More letters. From Michelle, what do Paul and Zeba think would be a solution within the ministry?
Right now, the short-term solution we're looking at, because of the court's ruling, is that Paul and I are prepared to work with them, if they'll work with us right now, to see them home, so that we have a definite game plan that they will be coming home within the time frame of 6 months indicated. We have written a letter to the ministry asking them what would satisfy them, what concerns are there other than the injury that happened, and what can we do to meet those concerns to show that we are willing and able to be good parents. So that's our first step, and we're prepared to do what it takes with that.
And have you heard from the ministry yet?
No, we have not.
See, the problem is in the beginning we had a meeting with the ministry, and they kept saying that we're not working with them. We're being uncooperative. And I asked them point blank, I said, what does it mean to work with you? What do you want us to do? And they said to admit and take responsibility for what you did.
Oh, yeah.
And
we've heard that scenario,
Exactly.
and it's usually in a dark dungeon somewhere.
Exactly. So how are you supposed to work with them?
Well, there was one farther thing that was said from their legal counsel during mediation, and that is, in order to move the case forward, we need a statement that's consistent with our diagnosing doctor. So that would be
That goes
consistent
back to
with
the shaken baby
Exactly.
syndrome.
But the courts have said it's not shaken baby.
So now where does that
We have
stand?
another call.
We got another call. Caller, you there?
Hello.
Yes.
Welcome to Roadkill.
Thank you. I'm just curious. In the past, I know that Paul and Zabeth had gone to the media, and then their 2 boys were taken from them. Then, are there going to be repercussions from doing the show here? Is the ministry going to disallow you to see your children because of this?
Only time will tell.
You know, and I'd like to say this. I think it's a different kettle of fish when you're sitting on the set of Roadkill Radio with Carrie Simpson and Terry O'Neill about your side. We will not let this one down. I know the downstream media, and you've had some good coverage, but there isn't consistent coverage. There isn't updates weekly if we need to do it on this case. But any social workers that are watching, and I'm sure you are, Madam Minister, when you get a copy of this, we will not let this story go. Know that now.
Yeah. And on that point about not
get out, and I'm proud of Paul and Zabeth for being on the show there tonight, and wish you guys all the best.
Thank you.
You know, so much of what goes on in the ministry is they put fear into people, and they want you to comply and be quiet and all the rest of it. The best thing you can do is to expose this as loudly as you possibly can. I think you have a long enough track record of trying to do the right thing, and where has that got you? Nowhere.
That's right.
You know, that's the problem that we
So
have
now
in
it's
these
time
cases.
to do the loud thing.
Now it's do the loud thing. Yeah.
Well, we have to stand up for other parents
Absolutely.
and other children
Yeah,
because
yeah.
this will just continue to be perpetrated for years to come.